This is the Chapter 16 History Test. The first question is your essay. If you did not pre-write it, you need to write your answer on the line. If you pre-wrote it, make sure you copy it in here. The question is, why did the Union win the Civil War? Why did the North win the Civil War? This is a complex question, and below I've listed many factors that you will need to consider when writing your response. You'll be required to use a minimum of 2 pieces of evidence as support. Number 1. According to the circle graph, which war cost the most Americans lives after the Civil War? So after the Civil War, which war cost most American lives? Was it the Civil War, World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War? Number 2. What was one advantage the Southern states had during the Civil War? They received military support from Britain and France. Many battles occurred on lands on which Southerners were more familiar. The largest weapons factory were in the South. Most people in the country agreed with the position of the Southern states. Number 3, based on the circle graph, which of the following statements are true? And as you can see, this is the Union forces. This is the North. Here, of the soldiers, 10% were African Americans, and of the sailors, 18% were African Americans. African Americans accounted for 18% more of Union sailors than they did Union soldiers. African Americans were better represented in the Army, Union Army, than in the Union Navy. African Americans accounted for 8% more of Union sailors than they did Union soldiers. Large number of African Americans were pressed into service by the Union Navy. Number 4, during the war, the economy of the South was severely strained from the blockade instituted by the North, and the destruction of Southern land and property remained unchanged because most of the battles took place on Northern soil, was strengthened due to inflation, was strengthened because bounties were paid to Army recruits. Number 5, the first major battle of the Civil War was at Shiloh, Antietam, Bull Run, Gettysburg. Number 6, from this quote, I need not tell the brave survivors of so many hard-fought battles who have remained steadfast to the last that I have consented to the result from no distrust of them. But, feeling that valor and devotion could accomplish nothing that could compensate for the loss that may have attended the continuance of this contest, I determined to avoid the useless sacrifice of those whose past services have endeared them to their countrymen. This was said by Robert E. Lee in 1865 when he surrendered. Which statement best describes why Lee is surrendering? Further fighting could not accomplish anything useful, and losses would be heavy. Lee was tired of fighting, and the Confederate armies had suffered very heavy losses. The Confederate armies were weary or tired and would not continue to fight anymore. Ammunition and other supplies for the Confederate troops had run out and could not be replaced. Number 7, by gaining control of the Mississippi and Tennessee rivers, what was the Union able to do? Capture Fort Sumter, force the Confederacy to surrender, split the Confederacy, reunite the Union. Number 8, what was one of the main advantages of the South? Small population of free men, excellent military leaders, its belief in state rights, its industrial base. Number 9. Which general had the nickname Stonewall? Thomas Jackson, Robert E. Lee, Ulysses S. Grant, William Sherman. Number 10. The law that required men between certain ages to serve in the Army for 3 years was the Corpus, Bounty, Draft, Habeas Corpus. Number 11. To raise money for the war, the North printed greenbacks, paper checks, handbills, promissory notes. Number 12. Sherman's march to Savannah was called Cold War, Undeclared War, Total War, Malicious War. Number 13. For the South, the primary aim or goal of the war was to win recognition for having soldiers, good soldiers, as slaveholders, as an independent nation, as a wealthy area. Number 14. Which of the following men did not lead Union forces or the North? George McClellan, Ambrose Burnside, Joseph Hooker, Robert E. Lee. Number 15. What helped Lincoln win re-election in 1864? Lee's surrender, winning at Gettysburg, Sherman's capture of Atlanta, promotion of Grant. Number 16 is a quote. They will make good soldiers, and taking them from the enemy weakens him in the same proportion they strengthen us. In this quote from a letter Grant wrote to Lincoln, to whom does they refer to? So who is he talking about? Native Americans, female spies, African Americans, Irish Americans. Number 17. General Lee hoped that a win in the North might impress who? France and Spain, Spain and Britain, Britain and France, Spain and Germany. Number 18. General Lee surrendered to Grant in a small Virginia village called Richmond, Appomattox Courthouse, Vicksburg, Gettysburg. Number 19. The worst disturbance or riot concerning opposition to the draft laws took place where? Washington, D.C., Richmond, Charleston, New York City. Number 20. The single bloodiest day of the Civil War took place where? Shiloh, Antietam, Bull Run, Gettysburg. Number 21. Most soldiers, both from North and the South, came from farms, the East Coast, slums, cities. Number 22. During the Civil War, the South had an advantage of the North because of its large army. True or false? Did the South have a larger army? True or false? Number 23. An efficient railway network was one of the North's strengths. True or false? '24. Both the Union and Confederacy used African American soldiers during the war. True or false? And last question, number 25. President Lincoln's main goals in the Civil War was to eliminate slavery in all territories controlled by the United States. True or false?